And we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this live stream. Today, we are live with Derek from The Irresistible Writer. Derek, amazing to have you here. I'm looking forward to this interview. How are you?
Yeah, doing really, really well. Just had a leisurely run, and now I'm fresh to chat to you.
Nice. Sounds good. We just talked about it, but for you, it's also sunny weather for me as well. So those are the best days to go for a run.
Yeah, absolutely.
Derek, today I would love to talk about how you built your online writing business, take a look behind the scenes, how you did that, talks a bit about your digital products that you have. So let me just start. On your Substack profile, it says that you have built a 30K online writing business in 18 months, which is absolutely amazing. Can you take us a little bit behind the scenes of like how you did this?
I mean, you're reminding me that my profile is a bit out of date. It's probably 60K now, but that's all right, isn't it?
That's good though.
I mean, so it starts with, so probably 2 years ago, I started writing, and so I hadn't had any experience of writing at all and decided to give that a go. So spent probably 6 months writing to nobody and decided to learn like how to be successful. How do you get readers? And so that was probably another 6 months learning how to do that. And then from there was this idea. I mean, I was just reading people who were bigger than me and what they were all saying, and everyone was saying you could make money from it. And I wasn't really convinced that was true, but I thought it's just some online scammers, isn't it? But I decided to like try it out, and mainly that came from products. And probably 12, 13 months ago, created my first product, and just like thought I'm just going to like have a go at that really. And then every month it's just kind of got bigger and bigger. I mean, I did have a full-time job. I worked 4 days a week in a normal job. But it's just got like bigger and bigger over that time. So this year probably I'm making about 6K a month probably at the moment. So getting bigger and bigger.
That's absolutely amazing. You mentioned you created your first digital product like about a year ago. How many digital products do you have right now?
6, I think. I tend to create one every couple of months.
Nice. And out of those 6, which one is your best performing, your best selling digital product?
So the one that sold the most is called Resource Bank. So that is a collection of cheat sheets and templates and that sort of stuff. So that's made the most money, and it was the easiest to create because I was just thinking about it one day, and I was like, I think I'd created 2 products at that point, and then I realized I had like all these templates on my computer I was using to kind of accelerate my growth and write faster because I work full time, so I had to like do it before work. And so I had all these things that I was using, how to write hooks, story frameworks, all that sort of stuff that I was using. And then I just thought, I wonder if like anybody else would be interested in this, if anybody else wants to write faster. And so, so I just made them available, and I didn't know the response. And it's, that's probably selling faster now than ever, really. I mean, that was just kind of accidental, and I just thought I'd put it up there, see what happens. But so I mean, that tells me that people are struggling for time. They want to know what works. They want like tools and all that sort of stuff. So and now they were working for me. So then I just made it available for others, and that's done the best, most popular.
Because I was going to ask, what do you think that made it the most popular product? But I think you kind of answered that already by saying like people are looking to save time, right? And if you create a database with templates that people can use, you save them a lot of time. And I also think you give them a lot of confidence in that what they are using, what they're doing actually works because you have used this successfully yourself in the past. Do you think there's any other reason why that product specifically performed so well?
I think also it was like the personal like credibility thing, so there was a lot about, I publish 30 articles a month. I work full time. I've grown to whatever number of followers it was there. And I think because I was like my audience in the sense of most of them at that time weren't full-time creators, they're all trying to create on the side and trying to squeeze out. So that was like made me very relatable because I was only just slightly ahead of where they were. And it was like, this isn't just like stuff I've got off AI. This is what I use every day to get these results. So that just personal story of this is what I've solved a problem for myself. Does anybody else have this problem? And they all do. So that made the sales page really easy because I just said what I've just said there, really straightforward. And that is obviously what grabs people and what people want to use,
Yeah, I love what you said about solving that problem for yourself first and then turning it into a digital product. This is what I've done with pretty much all of my online courses and mini courses as well. It's like I solved the problem first myself. And I
Yeah,
was like, well, probably other people are struggling with it as well. Right. Let
yeah,
me ask my audience if they actually are struggling with it. Oh, they are. Like, turns out I'm not alone. Now let me just repackage the solution that I personally used into a
yeah,
digital product or into a mini course. So I think that scratching your own itch is like a great starting point
yeah.
if you need a digital product idea. Would you say that all of your digital product ideas originate by scratching your own itch, or did you also use other approaches to generate your digital product ideas?
Um, yeah, pretty much. It has been stuff that I've solved, and then I've kind of shared. I mean, I'm more deliberate about that now. But I mean, when I did the resource bank, that was only I could have done that 6 months earlier and had more money, But I just like looked around and thought, actually, because we've solved more problems for ourselves than we realize, and it's just being aware of it, isn't it? So I just had that realization, but now I'm more intentional about that. So last month I launched a cohort to teach people how to create digital products because I've done 6 in 12 months. And I was confident about launching that cohort because I knew that if you've solved a problem and your audience have got that problem, they'll want the solution, But in the early days, I was just like making it up. And now I realized actually that's what you do. Just look around and what problems have you solved? And particularly if you're the same as your audience or you're just slightly ahead, that's like a great kind of strategy, really. I mean, I think sometimes you can deliberately go and learn something that other people want, So if you look around and what is it that people need solutions for, and you could go and deliberately solve it for yourself and then to pass on. But mine wasn't as strategic as that, it was more accidental. And then I'm like, I mean, that was my first course as well. My first course was headlines, teaching people how to do headlines. And again, I'd worked out how to do that and probably gained about 4,000 followers maybe on Medium at that point in 12 months from like a standing start. And it was only when other people started commenting, I thought my headlines were just like normal, it's what everybody do, but gradually people would comment, and some bigger creators than me as well would message, say, I'm stealing your headlines, hope that's okay. And I was like, oh, right, so this is like quite helpful to people maybe, and like imposter syndrome, that like we don't realize how much we've solved for ourselves and how much other people want. And I think for people that can be getting over that first hurdle, and I mean, once you've sold lots, you realize it's useful. But I think it holds a lot of people back in the beginning, isn't it? Because they don't realize that actually there's loads of people around who still need help with that. Yeah, the value of it.
Yeah, I think that is a big bottleneck for a lot of people who want to start with creating a digital product or want to build their first mini course, but they have this belief that they're not expert enough, or maybe they need more skills, more certifications, more credentials before they can like start teaching a skill.
Yeah,
But I call this the curse of knowledge. It's when you know a lot about your topic, automatically we assume, like you just said, that everyone else knows this as well, right? It's like common sense, common knowledge. But in reality, like if you're reading a lot about a topic, you're working with that on a daily basis, you're building your skills to such a point where actually to you it is automatic and to you it is like easy and it seems like common sense. But to someone who's just starting, for example, for your audience, they're just starting out as an online writer, they have no clue where to write, how to write great headlines. Everything is new. So you already have like your level of competence is already way higher than you realize yourself. I think that is one of the biggest bottlenecks for people to overcome, like realizing that the knowledge you already have has
yeah.
value and other people are already willing to pay you for it.
Yeah. And it can even be an asset, can't it? Because if you're just ahead of your audience, then actually they feel more connected to you because you still remember what it's like. Do you know what I mean? You remember the pain. So it's quite easy to tap into that empathy. Do you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
if Roger Federer knocked on my door, I would click off this live stream, right? But if he's like, I'll teach you some tennis, you know what I mean? He'd
Mhm.
probably find it really hard to teach me because it's like,
Mhm.
actually, I'm just trying to get it over the net, you know, and he'll say, just do
Yeah.
this. It's like, he's too advanced, isn't he? You know what I mean? So, like, you can look at like creators that are massive online, but like, it's a long time since they struggled with some of the problems of your audience. So, if you're just further ahead and you say 6 months ago or 12 months ago, this is what I've experienced and this is what solved it for me, people can be more convinced because they can think, right, this worked for you and you're a bit like me, so it'll probably work for me. So I
Mhm.
think you can like leverage that if you can just overcome your imposter syndrome, but actually bring your imposter syndrome to the sales page or the email. And actually that can like help people, you know?
Yeah, that's great advice. Really, I think so too. So, Derek, you have a new launch coming up in May, right?
Yeah.
What course is it that you're launching in May?
Yeah, so the one in May is called the Starter Kit. So it's like everything you need to get started online. And so, like, one of the things I noticed is so when you see people active in the comments and you see people replying to your emails and reading your stuff, you imagine that they're like, so my audience are writers. You imagine they're all writing and publishing and stuff. And then as I delved into it, I realized actually people were not writing, you know, they were just commenting
Mhm.
or reading and stuff. So I've gone back to like teaching people how to become a consistent writer, really, and how to like get started writing. And that, because I think that's like the start of if you can do that, everything becomes easy. You know, if you're a
Mhm.
consistent writer, then making money becomes easy, creating products becomes easy, building your newsletter becomes easier. But that's like the starting block. And so yes, I've gone back to that really, and just to show people how to like build that habit and how to become a consistent writer and like just get started with it. Um, it's not even get good as a writer, to be
Mhm.
honest. It's like get started and like just like write. You know, the advice I was to, you know, write for 6 months and become consistent, and then worry about getting good. You know, so
Mhm.
yeah, so there's some videos and some templates, and we do some live group coaching as well, just to help people kind of get over the line and like kickstart their writing journey. Because yeah, I mean, that came from just interacting with people and realized that was a pain point that I thought people had solved because they were buying all my other products. But it was like, actually, they haven't unless they solve that one. So
Mhm.
that was, yeah, just thinking through what tools and resources would help them, which is why we've got templates, group calls, and then just videos of me teaching a few bits and pieces. And yeah, so quite excited about that because I think if you can start writing online, you know, the world just opens up to you. So I love to
Mhm.
help people get over that starting block.
And how did you specifically decide on that topic? You already briefly mentioned like that you had conversations with your audience and they indicated that this was their pain point. What other like research did you do, audience research, to be like, hey, this is the course I need to create?
So I write on Medium quite a lot, and I can see when so sometimes what I do is I look at my Medium, or now I'm on Substack. I look at the responses I get either to Substack notes or to Medium articles, and you see which articles do well or notes do well, and that like tells you a pain point, you know. And whenever you write about consistency or any of the barriers holding people back from consistency, that always does well, you know. So that tells you that's where people are at. You know, if people are already consistent writers and you say you need to be consistent, they wouldn't engage with it. But like people do, and this insecurity about what to write and imposter syndrome and all that sort of stuff, whenever I write about it, that gets a lot of resonance. So I was like, actually, people are still in that place. So I want to like create something that's really going to just kickstart their writing.
Mhm. I love that you talk about like analyzing your data in that sense,
Yeah.
because this is a tip that I always give to course creators. Like, start by looking at whether it's Medium or Substack or any other social media platform. Like, look at your most popular topics.
Yeah.
Which topics like consistently get a lot higher engagement, or more people, especially leaving comments and asking you questions. I think that's the biggest indicator. But if you see a pattern, like, hey, every time I create content on this topic, it outperforms my other topics, that is a great like starting point for a course idea, for example, because your audience is like indirectly telling you, this is what I want to learn, right? This is what I want to learn from you, just by analyzing the data. You also mentioned those conversations with your audience, right? How do you approach that? Do you send a DM to followers or customers? How do you gather feedback from your audience?
Yeah, so I have I have a newsletter on Substack and Kit, and when people sign up in their welcome email, they always get invited to send me their personal writing challenge or their current one, and I'll email some advice to them. So I do that, so I can see, so I probably get an email most days from people saying this is what I struggle with or whatever. And so that gives me like a regular flow. And that's not just on social media, because they've signed up to my newsletter. That's people who are interested in my content. So I think that's like a higher level of feedback. Yeah. And so that's like a drip feed of people telling me what they're struggling with. So that's like another way of which I kind of use that. But I think if it's your email subscribers rather than just social media, then that's like an extra step up really in terms of value.
Yeah, I always say build, like, train yourself to gather data before you need it. So just, if it's in your email sequence, a standard email where you ask someone about, hey, what is your number one goal with your topic, and what is your number one challenge keeping you from that goal? Right, that those two questions alone will give you so much data, because people love to talk about their goals and what they want, what they're working towards, and they also like love to talk about, but this is currently my challenge, this is my obstacle, and maybe you can help me with that. But if you continuously gather that data, then over a few weeks or months time, you really have a solid understanding of what your audience wants and needs. And you can do this in an email, but you can also do this in a note, right? If you publish a note on Substack, sometimes my notes are just a single question. There's one question, like, what is your number one challenge when it comes to creating a mini course, for example? And then people tell me, and I promise them an actionable tip, right? I want to incentivize people to share their challenges with me. But if you do that, whether it's email, notes, or surveys, over time, you really get a good understanding of, this is exactly what my audience is struggling with. And if you can then build the mini course or other digital product that your audience is indirectly asking you for, you really set yourself up for success.
Yeah. And I love how you framed that, because the danger is you do like surveys and you turn into a business corporate marketing thing, but you're like asking people and then helping them, so you're already testing out your solution. You're already building credibility. So if you solve that little problem, they might buy your product. Plus you're getting like you're hitting like three things with one go. And I think that's much better than, you can just, send a survey and everybody votes or something like that. But I think keeping it relational and you weave it into your emails or your Substack notes or whatever it might be, and you make it part of the ongoing conversation, I think that feels more authentic, and I think it gives you better data than just emailing out a survey. I mean, you can do that, can't you? But I think keeping it relationship based and offering help as you go along. I think it's not just about identifying what the need is, but it's also like testing your solutions. So I don't think you just like harvest what the issue is and then you hide everything behind a paywall, because you've got to kind of test out your ideas and solutions. And that tells you also what content should be in your mini course, not just what problem you should deal with, because sometimes you can write an article or post a note with an idea or a solution and nobody engages with it. And you're like, all right, maybe I shouldn't have told people to get up at 3 a.m. to write consistently, or whatever it might be, So I think, testing the solutions is helpful as well, because it just shapes and focuses your thinking, doesn't it, before you create products to sell?
Absolutely. It's a way to, like, whenever I ask someone, like, hey, what's your number one struggle when it comes to achieving this goal? And I'll give you an actionable tip, right? They share with me what they are struggling with. I give them a tip, and then they usually comment either with, okay, I absolutely love that tip, thank you. Then I know, okay, this is something maybe to include in a course. Or if they have follow up questions with, like, I'm not really sure if I understand it, or can you explain it in more detail, then I know I need to work on my methods and my teaching in that sense. So I have not even considered that's the case, but absolutely, you're testing your own knowledge there as well, if it's already fit for a course or any other digital product, for example.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
Derek,
and
what?
testing,
Oh,
yeah,
you go ahead.
testing. Yeah, and testing how you explain it, because you might have the right solution, but like, how do you explain it? And it's like, it goes back to the custom knowledge, isn't it? And like, how do you explain it so somebody can grasp it? And you say you set up a marketing funnel, or you do this, that, and the other, and folk are like, what is even that? I remember one time talking about CTA, call to actions, in an article, and someone's like, "What's a CTA? What's a call to
Mm,
action?" And you're like,
yeah.
"Oh yeah." So I think, yeah, even refining your language. What were you going to ask?
I was going to ask you about your tech stack. So I know a lot of people, they have questions specifically about the technology and about the software, right? That, okay, they want to build a course or create a digital product, but they're like, I'm not a tech person at all. I don't understand how that works. What, like, platforms should I use to maybe, or tools should I use to build my course, and how to sell it? What do you use for your digital products?
Yes, I use Thrivecart and I use Kit. They're the two really that I use. So Thrivecart has the landing pages on it, and it's really good for bump and upsells and affiliates through that. And then it can also host courses in there, which is why I went for it. And it's a lot cheaper than Kajabi and Teachable and some of the other stuff. You just pay once, and so that's been an absolute bargain, really. Just having affiliates and bumps and upsells themselves, I'm using lots of jargon that some people would be like, what are those things? But it's got a lot of features. And then linking it, because I do quite a lot of email courses where which I think is a really clever digital product. So I do that through Kit, which I run for my newsletter anyway. And it's simpler than you imagine, really, because something like Kit, and you're like, how do I set up an automation, for example, which sounds quite fancy. But you just Google it, or you just watch YouTube, and then you just follow the instructions. And if you get stuck, you just ask a chatbot, a chat, or like for Thrivecart, it's got a Facebook community. They've just outsourced it to Facebook, so you just ask in there, and within like 5 minutes, someone will say, "Do this or do that." So I think it's less, as long as there's good support around the product that you buy. Actually, it's a lot simpler than you imagine, because you just ask and they tell you what to do. And they're all built to be really accessible on there.
I was gonna say that, like, if you build a course 10 years ago, it was far more difficult. You would need more complicated tech and all of that sort. But now, these days, all of these tools like Thrivecart that you use, Derek, or Thinkific, Teachable that we use, all of it is really made, like, to be as simple as possible when it comes to uploading your course, selling your course. So nowadays, you don't have to be a tech wizard anymore to to
Yeah.
get started.
To be honest, I think if you can work out Substack, then everything's easy after that.
Yeah,
If you can,
fair enough. Fair enough. Substack has a lot of features.
yeah.
It can be a lot when you just start out. Yeah, true.
Yeah, so for any of them, there's a bit of a learning curve, what I mean, because you got to learn. But that's like for anything. But they're pretty straightforward to learn, and they've got good support stuff. So and I think I found it's worth getting slightly more professional tools, rather than just trying to sell things through Notion or even Gumroad. To be honest, if you go for slightly more professional tools, you can get a lot of benefits from that, But and on one level, I think the most important thing is just to start. So if you've got a Google Doc, you're just going to email people with a Stripe link, then it's more important to start. If you've got a little product, then you can get better later, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. As long as you can get started and you can get your first sales, validate your product, and then you can always improve it as you go and make it more professional as you go. I'm all for that, compared to striving for perfection from the get go. Like, start fast, launch fast. That's You're gonna learn a lot more from that. So once you have built a digital product, Derek, like how do you go about marketing it? I know you do launches, but do you also like your digital products? Like when I go to your Substack, I can see that they're constantly available, right? How do you go about marketing them, making sales, right? Making sure that your digital products sell around the clock.
So there's kind of two things. One is the launch, and then one
Mhm.
is the after the launch, like the ongoing sales, And so they're two different marketing strategies that I have really. So the launch in terms of having an email sequence and telling people it's coming and preparing it, and you can get a lot of sales in the early days when you first launch something, but most of mine are ongoing as well. And that is incredible because it's all automated. You know what I mean? It's just all automated. So like somebody signs up for my email, I have a free course, people sign up for it and they get an email every day teaching them how to write. And there might be a PS about the resource bank within it. Or maybe this week I might email my list and if headlines is relevant within the article, there'll just be an embedded link to Toolkit, which a couple of people will click on. And so I just have I have an automated email sequence of maybe 3 emails. If someone shows interest in one of my courses, then they'll just get 3 emails telling them about it. And all that is set up through Kit. So it's just kind of automatic, So like
Mhm.
when you're making a couple of grand a month off stuff that you made a year ago and your email sales sequence you wrote a year ago and you haven't done anything about it for a year, that's the holy grail, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the best. I always say with mini courses, the best thing is you build it once, but you can sell it forever. And I love your approach with sending a value based email and then just in the PS having, like, hey, if you want the full resource on this topic, right, the ultimate resource on this topic, check this out. Like that's not an aggressive or pushy marketing strategy at all. I know a lot of people, especially on Substack, don't want to be aggressive marketers, but you
Yeah.
can lead with value and just like mention, hey, here's my product, here's my course. It's going to teach you even more on this topic if you're interested, and just feel free to check it out. And then making sales that way while
Yeah.
you've built your digital product months or even years ago, absolutely, that's the best.
Yeah. And then, and I have like sales sequence that gets triggered. So if someone shows an interest in some of that stuff, often, because I found it's quite hard to sell by just telling people once. If you
Mhm.
send them an email once, so I tend to have it set up within Kit that if people shows an interest in one of the subjects, they've clicked on it, so they've got some interest, but they have a look and they're maybe not sure about it. That triggers maybe another 3 emails over the 7 days, just explaining the value of it or giving a testimony or something, because I know they're interested. But that email doesn't go to everybody else who's not interested. So I think something like Kit, where you can set that up, is really valuable as well. And yeah, so having tags and you know what people's interests are, and you can send them emails to suit that. And
Mhm.
that's just all automatic, and that just goes on and on. So I know when I create a product that I'll make quite a bit in the initial sale, but then I know that for the next couple of years it will just tick over and serve people's needs. So yeah,
Mhm. Yeah. And I like what you said about mentioning it multiple times. I think there is also this fallacy that build it and they will come, right? You have your digital product. Okay. Now let me write one email or one post about it, and oh, no one buys it, or maybe one person buys it. Never mind, it failed, blah blah blah. No, you have to like keep reminding your audience over and over again. Hey, this product exists, this course exists, this is what it's about, this is the problem it solves, this is how it will help you.
yeah,
And sometimes I've seen it in my productivity business where someone would be on my email list for 4 years, and
yeah,
after 4 years they make the first purchase, right? So it can take someone. Some people buy within the first email, they see it, they want it straight away. Some people might need months of just reminders of, oh yeah, Derek has this product and I know what it's about, but for whatever reason right now is not the moment. But
yeah.
as long as you keep like, as long as it's on top of people's radar and you keep mentioning it, eventually like people will, they get ready to buy it.
Yeah. I mean, a strategy I've done sometimes is establishing, and I know you use this as well, is a waiting list, where people express interest in something that's coming. So I know they're interested. And in the some of my early products, I'd get like this waiting list of maybe 300 people, and if it's $100 course, you're like, wow, I'm going to be a millionaire, you know what I mean? And then like, I don't know, 10 people buy it on the first email, and you're like, what are the other 290 doing? And then day 2, you send a second email and another 5 buy it. And day 3, you send another one and 7 buy it. And then I'm like, right, so every time I email this list, some of them buy it. So I'll just I'll email them 7 times over 7 days, and people buy it every time. And then you're on like day 7, and you're like, I've sent you 6 emails. Why have you bought it today rather than then, But because they've signed up for the waiting list and they've expressed interest, I don't feel so bad like emailing them. And it's like they need that time to think about it, and you prevent different reasons and overcome obstacles. And definitely I've realized actually you can't just launch it and say it's here. You need to just help people think through. And as long as you're telling them truthful stuff, then you're not forcing people to do. You're just helping them do what they know they need to do, So I think that, I've realized that. And then you think, actually, people really do need lots of emails just to think it through and get over the line. So I think setting up, a lot of emails when you launch it is like really important. And you'll see that if you do it, because you'll find like after 7, you've still got people buying, even though they've had lots of emails before,
Yeah, exactly. That's also why in Mini Course Accelerator, we have dedicated like an entire module on how to launch your course, which is exactly this process, right? Okay, you've created your course, you put in the hard work and the time and effort. Now, like, let's not just put it out there, but really do a dedicated launch campaign where, okay, for the next 5 days or 7 days, in your case, you can get it for a discount or with an exclusive bonus, because that is really what will help drive a lot of conversion. And people like the most sales you'll see in the last 24 hours of any launch, because people might need those reminders, they need some time to think about it. But also when there's a deadline, right? If it's like you only have a few more hours left to join, otherwise this discount will be gone or this exclusive bonus will be gone. Like there's nothing that triggers that buying decision like having urgency. And as like you said as well, like as long as it's all real, it's a real discount that goes away, it's a real bonus that goes away, then it's real urgency. And that's a very effective way to like launch your course.
Yeah, and I mean, that's such a helpful resource, that you're talking about there, those kind of launch emails. And because I did a coaching call last month about digital products, and I had somebody who's like, oh, I've just launched it on Cumroad, so I'm not going to sign up. I was like, that's fine. I said, how's your sales going? And she was like, oh, well, it's only been up for 2 weeks, and she hadn't sold any yet. And I was like, I didn't say anything, but in my head, it's like, yeah, the first 2 weeks, that's when you make your most sales, or your first week, and we had thought the aim of the game is to get it on a platform, and that's not the aim of the game. The aim of the game is to get it available, but then you need a campaign to sell it. And people who are writers or creators can be into the creating thing. And I think it took me a while to get over the hump of, marketing and selling and seeing that as helping people rather than manipulating people. And it's a different skill set. And I think for some people in your first product, it takes a bit of while to get your head around that. You don't want to be pushy. You don't want to pretend that you're greedy for money and all that sort of stuff. But it's like, if you're really helping people, the more you can get them to buy, the more help you're going to do. And they need the sequences that you're talking about there in that module in order to kind of realize their potential, don't they?
Absolutely. Totally agree. So Derek, one last question. What is one key tip that you would give someone who right now is thinking about building their first digital product, or let's say specifically their first online course? They're thinking about it, they have a course idea, but they don't know how to get started, or they're doubting about getting started. What's one tip you would give that person?
So I would say they set a goal of launching the product. So like the goal is to just launch something. The goal is not to make it perfect, and the goal is not even to make money. Just if you've not done it before, create something and launch it, and do whatever you need in order to do that. And if it succeeds, you'll make some money. And if it fails, you'll learn lots and make your next one successful, And the second time, it'll be dead easy because you've already done it once. Too many people just think about it. And I think taking action actually is the most important step, and just do it. And you'll either be successful or you'll learn a lot and be successful next time. I think too many people don't take enough action.
Yes, exactly. Even if you build a course and it doesn't sell as well as you hoped it would, that's still such an incredibly valuable learning experience. And I say that as a person who has done that myself, right? Built a course in the past and it didn't perform well, but that like taught me so many lessons, and it made the whole course creation process for me so much easier. That like the courses that I built after that were faster and better and far more profitable. So just getting started with your first course, I think that is, I totally agree with that. And that brings me to a little segue where I think most people here watching might have already seen it. But we have recently launched Mini Course Accelerator. Mini Course Accelerator is our step-by-step system where Sinem, Philip, and myself teach you exactly our own process that we have used to build, launch, and automate online courses, more than a dozen online courses, and generated more than $1 million in sales. So if you're interested in like building your own mini course, launching it, and then even automating it, like Derek also said, his digital products bring in income on autopilot basically. Then go to minicourseaccelerator.com or message me or Derek. Derek is an affiliate for Mini Course Accelerator. So if you want more information, or you're just interested in learning more, feel free to message any of us too.
Yeah. And I think that the way to think about it is actually when you buy your course or my course or any other course that helps you sell more, you see it as an investment. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, if I pay $100, $500 for something, you'll make more than that in your improved sales, So I think that the other piece of advice is invest in your learning, and get the best knowledge you can, because then you'll 10x that in your sales or whatever it might be, and that can be for this course, it can be for mine, or just it's a general piece of advice, isn't it? Invest in your learning, and that's not a cost, because you'll make more. I've definitely made more than that in my own investment, So yeah, go for it.
Yeah, it's always, you're always paying for a shortcut, and I mean, if there's one piece of advice, and I know it might sound cliche, right, but that I can give my past self, it's like to actually invest in a proper program earlier, because when I built my first courses, I really all did it by myself and literally Google, YouTube, and it was a fun process, but it took me like 2 full years to really understand the course creation process and start making money from it. So if you're interested in doing this yourself and you want a shortcut, then feel free to check out Mini Course Accelerator. Derek, I really want to thank you for this live stream. It was such a value-packed session. I think you have a lot of interesting lessons to share with the people here, especially online writers who are really looking to build their online business. So thank you for doing this amazing live stream.
Yeah, pleasure. Hopefully, it might inspire one or two more people on the journey. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, Derek, and thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
Bye-bye.
All right.